Yabba yabba folks, this is Bruce and this is...
Kenzie, welcome back to another video.
So it was nice. Last Thursday we had a lot of fun. So, well, today, Kenzie, you know what? I was looking up on this a certain word called hedonism.
Hedonism, right?
Yeah, tell me more about it.
Yes, it just boils down to the ideology that people crave pleasure as the utmost and ultimate goal in life, and that is what every other life decision boils down to. And
I mean, usually when you come to college, there's like this saying, right? You know, you do whatever makes you happy.
right?
Now, how's that different from feeling pleasure and all of that?
Yeah, so doing what makes you happy is kind of like a double-edged sword, right? Because there are things that can make you happy that can be hedonistic, especially things that are highly dopaminergic. So like things that give you a lot of dopamine really quickly and get you hooked onto it. So I think you can go and talk more about that.
Dopamine. You mean the happy hormone, the reward hormone.
Mm-hmm.
They say dopamine is a hormone that focuses on a lot of the aspects of the body. It's linked to many stuff, but let's talk about how is it affecting a college student, right? So when I do something good, let's say I complete a project, I feel cool. When I hit that rep in the gym, I feel really cool about it.
You feel powerful.
I feel awesome. I feel really good about it. And whenever I talk to my crush, that's a rush of oxytocin. I feel really happy. But now there are negative effects of dopamine too. There are a lot of people that are into pornography, and there's a lot of people that are into drugs, alcohol, and partying. That gives them dopamine as well. So can I call it a negative dopamine, or can I classify it under dopamine itself? How would you say that?
Yeah. So that's why I said it's a double-edged sword. Dopaminic, activities are good, but that's where the good and the bad really comes into what you believe, because we know now junk food and all of the vices you mentioned, these things can be good, but in access they become very, very, very bad. So I'll give you an example. Imagine a world where you can get everything. You can just wish for something. Like you can just wish for a pizza and it appears in front of you. You can wish for a drink and it appears in front of you.
A hologram or like actual stuff?
Actual stuff.
Oh, wow.
The food which actually appear. Like essentially, imagine heaven, but a human being in heaven who has not attained, salvation. This is the problem. This is the reason why life is kind of like a test for you to get into the good place, right? Because as humans who are not like who haven't obtained this wisdom, what we do is kind of instinctive. So imagine a place where you can get everything. What would happen eventually is that you get bored of everything, because now you have had all the food there is. You have tried everything that has to be tried, and now you have reached a new level of dope.
It's like a little graph. We can plot this on a graph, right? So basically, so it's exponentially increasing. So your ground state is always increasing.
Correct.
Oh.
So as you go higher and higher, you'll need exponentially more to keep you that level of satisfied. And the controversial part is that you can this graph never ends. It keeps going up and up until eventually you just run out of juice or you burn out, right? That's how people start burning out from work, and they burn out from playing and from sports. And when you keep doing it more and more and more, and you don't set your own artificial limits on them.
Can you explain the graph?
Yeah, so I'll explain how the graph works. We have a baseline, which everyone is, if we were just born today, our dopamine level would be at this baseline. Correct. Okay. Now each time we do something that feels good, our dopamine level surges. It goes up and we feel good about it. But our body, due to how our bodies are built, our biology tends towards a homeostasis. Yeah, I'm no biologist, but this is just the simple science. It tends towards homeostasis, and
what's homeostasis?
So essentially, your body wants to go towards tend towards a level of normalcy. So suppose your dopamine is risen for a continuous period of time, that will now be a new normal. So your new normal state becomes that.
Whoa.
But since you're on the substance, you feel good. The moment you get off that substance,
Like a drug.
like a drug or like anything, it could be even food. Like you eat sugary food every day, caffeine every day, coffee every day. Suddenly you get
Like
off
Red Bull?
like Red Bull, exactly. But you get off the coffee and bam, now you're gone back to your old state, your old level, which should have been your normal state, but your body is now used to the high level of dopamine.
So I am low.
So you're low now, and now you have a craving, and that craving then turns slowly into withdrawals. So this is why the entire withdrawals concept even exists.
So this keeps increasing and increasing
Yes.
to a point of no return.
To the point of no return. To the point where you would have to literally be stimulated continuously to even feel normal.
So that's what you call an addiction.
Yes.
So what are the negative effects? So I mean, what's so wrong if you get addicted? Let's say I have a bunch of friends who are addicted to porn.
Yeah.
What would happen now? They just say it's normal. People classify this as the new normal. The partying outside, watching porn, hooking up, and this is what's happening in colleges.
So this would lead to an unrealistic expectation of what life really is, because life is not going to give you these dopamine pumps all the time, which we have grown so used to.
Yeah.
Right. Life is kind of life is when it comes to it, when you get a reality check, you're like, oh wow, okay, so it's not going to be like this all the time. I got to really bring down my baseline back to what it normally is, because otherwise we will expect something that doesn't really exist, especially when it boils down to, say, relationships. So from what I've read, if you have a very, very frivolous relationship, or it's like something where there are no boundaries, then when it comes to really getting down to the real problems, such as finances, raising a family, and having family quarrels, especially with the extended family, your parents, her parents, it's not going to be as happy as you thought it was. And when those problems start coming into your life, then you're like, oh wow, I don't like this at all, I cannot cope with this at all, and then the entire thing falls apart.
So I mean, coming back to a college perspective, it's going to be like you want to start a startup and you're so hyped about it, you're going and publishing stuff.
Yeah.
But when the actual lows come,
Yes.
when you don't have clients, when you don't have the product ready, sometimes
Yes.
there's some hurdles, you don't have funding, you do not know how to face it.
Yeah.
It's more like, hey, I want to be on the magazine of Forbes, I want to be on a magazine of my college, I want to have a good resume, but I do not know what damage control is. So that's what dopamine can do. It can blind the ability to troubleshoot when problems occur. Can we just say that?
Yeah, you can definitely say that. And coming back to what you spoke about porn as well, the thing is, the addiction to porn, as we'll go into quite a lot of detail soon, but right now, just to give it a brief, it's not inherently a sexual tendency. It's more to do with the emotional stability of the person who is addicted. So
What do you mean?
So to go into more depth of that, what essentially this means is that porn is really good at emotional regulation. What it does to you is it gives you a sort of one-minded clarity during the act, and you forget about all of your problems. So it's kind of like an escape. It's a simple.
So it just narrows down your focus and concentration.
Yes. Which can also be done through prayer, meditation, other things. But this is one really effective method.
It's easy. It's fast.
It's easy and quick. You can access it very easily in today's age, right?
Yeah.
The problem with that, however, is then that becomes you fall into a cycle. You fall into a more depraved cycle.
The graph.
Yeah, and it keeps growing and growing to the point where your entire day is filled with that, and you have nothing else to do, or you don't feel like doing anything else because nothing else feels good anymore.
That's really important.
Right.
I mean, so we've been through a phase of teenage, right? Where we've experienced all of these introductions of pornography and substances, let's say partying, and staying in a place like this in a college up here. I mean, it's pretty evident and it's pretty tempting as well.
Yeah.
But most of our journey, I mean, as we come from first year, I found it boring. Because, when you come from a family where, you're the only hope sort of thing and you have to make it, it's really important to get your morals right. And not just about of your family backgrounds, etc. I also think it's more of, being aligned, being a man or being a godly person, irrespective of gender. You gotta set your will with God, and that's where religion comes, I guess.
Yes.
Because why we talked about why church is important in college. This might be like an addition to it, because religion gives you a sense of living.
Yeah.
Some principles and morals.
So so the purpose comes through that. You would tend towards these addictive habits because you want emotional regulation, and also because you feel meaninglessness.
Yes.
This is a very big problem that I see a lot around the college people today, and that meaninglessness can be effectively solved through faith.
How? Now that's the question you gotta tell them. How?
So how? Okay. Now let me talk about why we need rules in life. Right.
Yeah.
In a world where you could do anything, you would end up doing everything, and then you get bored. It's like, imagine a video game where you just enter the room and there's a button saying win. You click here to win. You click the button and you won the game. That's it.
That's a good example.
Like, would that be a fun game to play? I don't think so, right? The company is you just get into the game and you win or directly.
You want to have levels. You want to have those hardships.
Yes, exactly. So that's where the whole game of life comes.
Once you get things through hard work, struggle, dedication, building up consistency to build up character.
Yes.
A monumental character that depicts.
Yeah.
And you'll savor success.
Yes.
I guess, right? How about that time where that phase of your life where you told me where you were partying and you were addicted to smoking, etc. I mean, if you give a little perspective about that, I think these guys would understand what it feels to be in that zone and how you feel different right now.
Yeah, so it's, in simple terms, it's like playing a video game with cheats enabled, right? It's
like GTA Vice City.
GTA Vice City or anything, but you play with cheats on. Like you take the easy route on every path that you follow, and it's essentially like it's like you're spiraling downwards. Right?
Yeah.
Because you're just letting gravity take you where it's taking you. You're not putting your foot in the door and walking or climbing or running. You're not doing any of that. So that's where the whole faith comes in, because as you said, build character. But people ask me, okay, how do you build character? What do I build character of? There is now a character in heaven. There is Jesus's morals, and there is his code. His commandments have been already written down. So if you pick up that book and you decide, okay, this is going to be my character from today, you have already set rules and regulations on your own life. So that will then enable you to effectively follow down a path where you're going to reach the good in the end. You're not worried about, okay, is this decision right, is this wrong? You are offloading that mental, emotional instability onto a moral code that you just have to follow, and that's just how it is.
That's true. So it's like you're setting up it's like setting up a goal and a standard that you want to achieve.
Yes, you set your own standards, and now you have to keep by those standards because that's what you have said. That's your character.
But the best part about this is the standards. You don't have to brain up and make up some sort of standards.
Yes,
they're already predefined.
Yeah.
There's a way of living. It's
Correct.
a predefined way of living where you can live. You can have it's like having a guide.
Yes, it's
that
like
you can check if I'm going wrong, if I'm going on the right track.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's like, I love the video game analogy, so I'll go with it. It's like in a video game having a guidebook. Who wouldn't want a guidebook to life? And we have that in the form of the Bible, right? So any problems you find, you just go into that, you read it, and believe me or don't believe me or believe me, every problem just seems to be there. If not in the exact form, an interpretation can give you an answer to every single problem. And this is honestly, in the last 2 years, this is what I have noticed as I keep reading, where I was like, I had so many issues, and now they're just one by one just getting knocked out of the list, because it's just all there, it's all written.
So coming back to the last part of the podcast, how did we battle our addictions? So I'll start up with mine.
Yeah.
So one of my huge addiction was drinking loads of Red Bull. And I mean, for a point, it was mostly trying to keep myself awake. But then the flavor, the taste, and the energy you get after it was really different.
Yeah.
But then after one point, I reached a point of stagnation. But I felt, this is just keeping me awake and I really want to sleep. My body's telling me one day that I gotta sleep because I feel really drowsy, though I drink 6-7 cans of Red Bull. And that was a point of realization where I realized, I'm not getting enough work done by faking my biological clock system in the body. Waking up early, having a cold shower, hitting the gym, coming back, working. I get more things done in an hour compared to 6 hours of trying to stay awake and working.
Yeah.
And apart from that, it also changed my overall way of thinking. The more I started relating to the Bible and using it as a guidebook, it changed the way I talk to friends, the way I socialize, the way I make decisions. Because the Bible is a really good guide in planning out your life financially, spiritually, mentally, even physically.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at some of the characters in the Bible, like David, or you look up to kings, like Solomon, or even Moses and Noah, these guys, they obeyed God's word. And for us currently, God's word is the Bible. And I feel that would be one of my best solutions to beating addiction. And nothing comes really easy, to be honest. Nothing's really easy. But the more you stay, and the more you read the Bible, try to stay and use this as a guide and a standard, it's like leveling up in a game. You're getting rewards. You can see the blessings overflow. And my life, if you look at the previous video of ours, there's a little testimony that we shared, and that's how I saw my life grow. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, so for me, my battle was with things that were taking too much of my time. So it was not about, it was not like a caffeine addiction. It was more like addiction to other substances, like smoking or drinking, on pornography and stuff. So these things would take a lot of my time, and I wouldn't be as productive as I wanted to be. And now, since my baseline was at that level, without those things, I couldn't function normally. So I started how I overcome it is through surrendering to Christ, and through a gradual reduction of all of these things. So I started out with maybe reducing my screen time and reducing I didn't go cold turkey. I started to reduce everything in small amounts, and also lots and lots of prayer, lots of sitting alone, lots of meditation. Meditation, I feel, is one of the best methods to come out of any addiction. It really helps you to self-introspect into what you've been doing, And then what happens is, I'll tell you now, once you get out, how it feels like. The moment you're tempted by something, you are so self-aware now that you can automatically say, wait, should I be doing this?
Yeah.
And then if the temptation persists, where you're like, come on, it's going to be fine, then that's where your faith comes into play. Then it's like, but God would not like this. But God is telling me not to do this right now. Right? So, but this is not
your
right.
Personal intimacy with God.
Yes. It's like a relationship. If I spend so much time with somebody, I wouldn't want to piss that person off. Right?
Yeah.
It's like your parents. You love your parents so much that you wouldn't want to disobey them, or maybe a life partner, maybe a girlfriend. So that is the relationship you should have with God. You should talk to Him every day, all the time. Continuously. Just be like, God, what do I do now? What do I do now? What's next? Surrender to the point where He is your sole redeemer and comforter. And then what happens is, then you value that relationship so much that you wouldn't want to break it in any way. And that's how you get out of it.
That's amazing.
Thanks, man.
Well, see you guys on the next podcast.
Bye-bye.